Hello everyone, welcome to this section of content learning. The main content of this lesson is to explain the relevant content of widget in HiCode, so we don't say much. Let's open the editor to find out what widget is. Similarly, we enter in the browser editor.hicode.com. I believe that through the learning of the last lesson, everyone has bookmarked it. Let's click the bookmark we added to come to one of our development environments. Here we enter an application name called widget, and then click Create, so we complete the creation of an application. Through the study of the last lesson, you should already know where our widget is. Yes, in the widget column on the left side of our editor, widget is the most basic component of HiCode developing. If we want to master a widget thoroughly, we must start with an property action and an event. As for property, we can master it now. For action and event, we need to cooperate with us to have studied the chapter of event before further understanding. So here we can start with the property of a widget. First, let us tell you that all the widget we introduce here is not to let you quickly master the content of this lesson, but you should have the impression that there is such a widget, and then when you encounter a specific scene, there is such a stamp like, and find it in a specific location, and then you hover over it, you can jump to the document center to view a detail of it, and then master a method of its use. First of all, the top side of the widget column is our module and our expansion widget. The so-called module is our user-defined feature combination unit. The completed module can be added to the number of objects for use just like the ordinary widget. We can also upload the completed module to the module library in the cloud, so that we can carry out a different application share. The module is mainly used for the reuse of an application and the packaging of a feature module. The details of the module will be explained in a separate chapter. As for the extension widget, we divide it into the widget preset by the tool and the widget downloaded by yourself from the cloud. The so-called widget downloaded from the cloud allows you to introduce the custom widget library or download the custom widget library by writing code and then add the corresponding widget to our workbench through the React syntax. The so-called custom widget is that it supports our developers to add our front-end widget to the project in HiCode by themselves, and can be used as the normal system front-end widget. At present, for such a customized widget, we use the React framework, so we need to use the writing method of React widget for all the customized custom widget, and then the developer also needs to have a certain use foundation of React framework, which is not explained in a series of explanations in our HiCode foundation. Here I would like to introduce our tool preset widget for you. The so-called tool preset widget is a series of high-frequency widget that we write for you through the method of React. First of all, our interaction and form widget, which includes one of our selection buttons, check boxes, drop-down menu, multi-selection drop-down menu, step bar and slide menu block switch and search box, as well as our scoring widget. You are interested in any widget or want to see how it is used. You can click it and then add it in one of our front end. For example, the selection button I added now has an effect of checking when I click. If I cancel the check, it will cancel the effect of checking. Similarly, if you are very interested in our scoring widget, you can also click our scoring widget, and then here we can try a feature of it. We can find out that the current scoring widget has its property including the current score width, visible opacity, etc. Where can we find this? We can notice that in the extension widget, we hover the mouse over the score, and we can find that its property has the so-called read-only current maximum score icon size, etc. So all its property can be briefly viewed here. Then there is our page navigation widget, which includes our tab container, navigation page container, navigation menu container, paging widget, and so on. When we do page layout, we will use it again. Then we will include our selectors, including our palette, calendar selector, rolling calendar selector, month selector, time selector, etc. If you use the selector, you can find it here. Here we choose a mobile phone month selector for you. We can see that when we add it, we can use such a month selector in the mobile phone. Next is our special feature container. In the special feature container, there are a rotation liquid container, sliding container, waterfall flow container, and so on. If you want to try it to have any effect, you can add it, and then check that it has a rough method of use. And then down is our icon widget. Our icon widget is actually the corresponding widgets library, which is convenient for us to display. If you think the existing charts are not enough for you, you can use our custom charts, and then you can call all the styles in all our widgets libraries by writing JS. Note, for our extended widget, you don't need to quickly master all of its usage methods, but you know that there is a widget with such a name here. If you encounter such a scene, you can find it again, hover over it, and then click one of our view details to see the application of such a widget. Just use the method. Generally speaking, we will put the same object type in an object container, or divide our widget into an object container according to the page area or feature combination. The purpose is to make our object number structure more friendly, increase our readability, and facilitate our later update or maintenance. Then there is our API widget. The so-called API is that our application programming interface is a number of predefined developed functions. It allows us to communicate with the external through the interface, so that the external personnel can call the function or hardware without accessing the source code or understanding the internal working mechanism. Of course, in addition to a series of API interfaces that call hardware, we also often call the API of data type in the development process of application. The API of data type may come from the external function that we develop by ourselves, or it may call some commercial API services operated by other platforms to obtain some conventional data, such as weather forecast, a geographical location, a face integration, mobile phone number query, etc. API debugging will be more complex. We will hold a special course to explain it later. Then down is our connection widget. The connection is mainly used for information transmission between multiple devices. It is often used for timely sharing of data between multiple applications or for interaction of multiplayer games. The connection is also a very special usage. Its feature is very strong. We will give a special explanation in the subsequent courses. Then down is our application system. It can be found that when we create a new application, it will help us pull an interface of such an application system by default. The application system is mainly used to call the system feature to start some global operations. Generally speaking, we need to do a series of debugging, or set URL parameters, etc. a series of system functions, and then the debugging of application system is a very high-frequency operation. When we are learning event, we will tell you how to use the debugging feature of application system. Next, our local cache is actually a series of data we cache. In our local browser, it is mainly divided into cookies and local storage, that is, our local cache, and our session storage, that is, our session storage. Our cookies are mainly used to help our website identify the identity of our users, and then store some information of users. Local storage is mainly used to store a series of data, but our storage restrictions are much larger, and the information will not be transmitted to our server, and the painting cache is a new painting cache in HTML5. The storage object is used to temporarily save the data of the same label or window. After the window or a label is closed, such a series of data will be deleted. Of course, these terms include cookie, local storage and session storage. If you don't know these words, it doesn't matter, because as long as you don't know these words, you won't be able to use such a function. When you use such a feature, you can use our local cache such a feature. Next, there is our file interface. Generally speaking, the file interface is an interface that we need to upload our resources or download our resources, including our file interface for uploading pictures, downloading files, etc. Then down is our system interface, which we preset for you. Some interactive interfaces that can be directly called by application, such as pop-up window, loading prompt, etc., can be called directly after the user completes some operations to improve the user experience. Then there is our device interface. The device interface allows us to use certain functions of the specific device, such as gyroscope, a geographical location, and jitter feature on the mobile device. The local cache, file interface, system interface, device interface, and one of our application systems mentioned by us at present, such a series of interfaces are as follows. It can be used directly without adding it to our number of objects. We will give you a separate explanation on the specific use method in event. Then there is our basic UI widget. First of all, there is our picture widget. And the picture widget is used for us to insert a picture in the current position. As for what is a picture, I don't think I need to repeat it. Generally speaking, we can use it as a background picture, or as an effect of page decoration. Then there is the picture sequence. The picture sequence is almost identical with the use scenario of the picture. However, the picture sequence can be understood as a collection of multiple pictures, or we can directly understand it as a GM motion picture. We can set the duration of each motion picture through the picture sequence, including its switching effect, etc. Then down is our text widget. The text widget is used to record a piece of text. I don't think the text widget needs me to give you a very big redundancy. Then there is our Chinese font. Because there is no way to specify a Chinese font in our browser, we provide a widget of such a Chinese font. We convert the pictures we input into the Chinese font into the text in real time in the backend. Therefore, we pay attention to the essence of the Chinese font, which is a picture rather than a text, and the Chinese font must be dynamically assigned at runtime. However, since our Chinese font is not text in nature, its content is not real-time rendered through the data of the front-end end. Therefore, we cannot perform data binding operations on it. We can only assign values, and then dynamically generate pictures through the back-end, and then make a return. Then down is one of our input box widget, which allows users to input or paste the content independently by keyboard, so we can directly interact with users and collect a series of data. Then down is the button. The button is a button specially used for our interaction. We can recognize the behavior of users such as clicking, long pressing, finger pressing, etc., and then trigger a series of other actions. However, its appearance can also be customized. If we set one of its color background colors to transparent, and set if the text is deleted, it will actually become a transparent button. We can set it above any object as an interactive button. Then down is our audio widget. The audio widget is mainly used for us to insert an audio, and then monitor its playback behavior, and can play such an audio. The maximum audio supported in HeCode does not exceed 50 megabytes. Due to the limitation of the browser environment, if you use WAV format audio, it may not play normally in some environments. Therefore, we recommend that you convert all audio materials to MP3 format. Audio materials can be accessed through the URL of resources, so you can change the audio pair without changing. Like in the case of a play property, we go to replace its audio material. Our audio is usually used to add our background music or sound effects, and then the sound effects are divided into our prompt sound effects or our effect sound effects according to different use scenarios. The sound effect can be our automatic play, or through our event or trigger to control a play time of our audio. Then down is one of our video widget. The video widget is mainly used to insert a video material and control one of its playback behaviors. As a highly expressive media form, video is increasingly used. In addition to ordinary embedded video, we can also realize our full-screen video, interactive video, and other diversified video content through objects and other interactive elements. In our special chapter on marketing interaction, we will also tell you how to integrate our videos with our H5. However, it should be noted here that our video only supports MP4 video material encoded in H.264 format, and the size cannot exceed 50 megabytes. Due to the limitation of the content of the video itself, when a longer video material needs to be used, we suggest a segmentation of the video to turn it into a multi-segment video. Then down is our Subtext Widget. The Subtext Widget is a very powerful text widget, which supports more rich text formats than the plain text widget. In editing, we can edit one of our subtexts through the text editing area. The complex text editor is a kind of text editor that can be embedded in the browser to edit the content and format of the secondary text. The difference between it and the secondary text is that our secondary text widget is just a display for us, and our secondary text editor can make a series of edits for the content and display the content through our secondary text. For very complex effects, such as our forum or blog, users can customize to edit a content and clapping of a blog they want to edit, and then display it through our vice text. Then there is our web page widget. Generally speaking, the web page widget is to embed a web page in our application, and then to the right is our map widget. At present, our map widget calls the API of Tencent Map. If you click it, you can insert a map control in the application, and the control has the base of our Tencent Map. This function, for example, can specify the center of an area and display a map around the area. We can set the specified area as the center point and display the map around the area. It can be changed by dragging the mouse or controlling the button. The center point of the current display area will also change. We can control the current center point as the origin through the scroll wheel or the proportional zoom widget and make a proportional zoom. We can also mark the target location through the map for a navigation or positioning, or query the location of the target through the longitude and latitude or address and analyze a matching location information. We have a series of supporting widget under the map widget. For example, when I select the map widget, I click our map widget again. It can be found that there are many contents under it, such as prototype cover, text label, map mark, map line cover, map polygon cover, etc. Generally speaking, we can also limit some special functions through the map widget, such as our navigation, or limit the regional punch card and other feature. Specifically, we can check the usage of Map Widget in the Demo Center after learning the basic courses. Then down is our icon widget. In fact, the icon widget is a series of icons that we preset for you. It can be used as a visual mark or as an interactive button. All the prefabricated icons adopt SV. The machine vector format can be zoomed in and out without any damage, and a high-definition display can be performed at any resolution. Next is our counter. Counter is a set of its storage and operation display as one of the widget. We can, through the form of assignment or data variables, let the technology to carry out a calculation or display function. It can carry out an operation on its own value, complete a series of operations such as auto-incrementing self-test to generate random number rounding, and so on. Then down is our QR code widget. As a very convenient information transmission medium, QR code can be used to nest a connection in the QR code, and then our users can open such a connection after scanning the code, and then jump to the corresponding web page. Of course, we can also embed various information in the QR code to realize an interaction of some data. Then to the right is our split line, which is a horizontal or vertical line for us to display the contents of the page in blocks. Then down is our live window, which is a special video widget. It can receive the video streaming from the backend live widget and play the content. Generally speaking, we need to cooperate with the live widget to complete the whole live operation. Then there is our container and layout widget, and then our container and layout widget. First of all, our circular creation widget. The circular creation widget can dynamically create UI units with the same structure and event logic when the application is running, and can control the values and property values of the dynamic UI units through data binding. Normally, we will use it together with the condition container, and the loop creation widget is a very important widget in the front-end data rendering, so we will specifically learn it in the following courses. Our condition container is also a very important widget in our front-end data promotion, and we will conduct a special study in the future. Then there is a form container here. We use the form container to collect the form data, and the form data will become very convenient. We will also carry out special learning in the subsequent courses. The routing container is used for us to do some front-end routing, and can set the content displayed under specific conditions under fixed path. Further down is one of our page widget. As a paging unit, it usually loads all the content under a page, which is the most commonly used widget for page partition under the stage. Then on the right is our absolute positioning container, which is used to use partial absolute positioning environment in our relative positioning environment, and is added a widget. We will be specialized in the following courses to learn how to use it. The row widget is a relatively positioned container. We will make a special study in the following courses, and its internal elements will be arranged from left to right. The same column and row are actually the same widget, but the elements in it will be arranged vertically from top to bottom. Then the banners have absolute positioning banners and relative positioning banners. Only the internal positioning environment rules of these two banners are different. As a special positioning tool, the banners can be fixed in the page for a display of a position. We will also give a special explanation in the subsequent courses. Then Panel Widget is a kind of widget with slide or scroll function. Generally speaking, when we make some long pages or scroll and refresh the list, we will use a panel widget. Table Container is also a widget that we render as data. It can dynamically create a table structure with multiple rows and columns when the application is running. The number of rows, columns, and a content to be displayed in the cell of the dynamic table are controlled by data binding. Generally speaking, we will cooperate with widgets such as Database Excel to make some of our online forms. The digital container is usually created dynamically when our application is running, and there are multiple levels of a dynamic directory structure that can be expanded and collapsed. Settlement data is to select our settlement engineer as the data source to display the settlement data. Then down is our Timeline widget. Timeline widget can add tracks to the internal objects and integrate the keyframe animation of multiple tracks. Generally speaking, our Dynamic widget and Timeline widget are often used in our marketing interaction scenarios, so we will give a detailed explanation in the 4th chapter of the marketing interaction topic. Of course, there are many widgets with special functions further down. For example, the first one is our Canvas widget. Canvas widget is a bitmap environment that depends on resolution. It supports us to draw a series of graphics in time through JavaScript. It can be used for our drawing and rendering graphics, creating animation processing, our images and text. Canvas has very excellent graphics shapeability, can be used to create a complete application, or even a 2D 3D web game. When we are in the marketing interactive scene, in order to have a very good experience of our game or animation, we usually add Canvas first, and then make our animation or our game in the canvas. Then there is our Process Control widget. The Process widget contains the Process Control widget of the front-end end and the process engine of the back-end end. We can draw the flow chart of the front end through the event call. Then, the drawn process file and node state are taken as parameters to the process engine for processing, so as to obtain a current blocking node, and then pass it to the front end. Generally speaking, we will make a series of contents, such as its approval process, or process control. Process control has very high requirements for data structure and widget proficiency. Therefore, in the basic course, we will not explain the flowchart container, and then next is our panoramic container. The panoramic container allows the experimenter to build our panoramic scene and switch our perspective in the panoramic container. Generally speaking, it requires us to take our panoramic picture through the panoramic camera and then process and analyze such a panoramic picture through computer graphics so as to construct such a panoramic scene. Generally speaking, compared with 3D modeling, the panoramic container is easier to make, less data, and the consumption of the system is very low, which has a strong sense of reality. We will explain the usage of such a container in the special topic of marketing interaction in Chapter 4. Then there is our 3D world. The 3D world is a widget that uses WebGL to achieve 3D effects in H5. Similar to our canvas, it is also a container. 3D events can be used to show our 3D models, make our 3D animation 3D games, etc., as well as some very smooth panoramic effects, and so on. Then down is our data widget. The data widget is mainly used for the storage and processing of our data. For example, our text widget can store a single character or a string, and our numerical widget can store the numerical value for calculation, etc. The flexible use of data widget determines that we use HiCode online. We will explain the use of our data widget separately in the following chapters. In HiCode, we adopt the development mode of separating the front and the back end, so our widget is also separated from the front and the back. When we select the back end, we have a series of back-end widget. The back-end widget includes the API used to call the interface, a series of connections used for communication, a short message widget used to send SMS, and an email widget used to send and receive email, and we want to carry out a data encryption and decryption of the encryption widget, and we have just briefly introduced the data widget. As for our backend widget, Each backend database and the use method are very special. We will choose a series of widget with characteristics in the follow-up courses for a simple explanation, and then the remaining series of complex database use methods. We will give you an explanation in the improvement course. The above is the whole content of this section. Thank you for watching.